Welcome, everyone, to today's Town of Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The date is the 29th of September, 2022. This meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please let us know. Pursuant to Governor Baker's July 16, 2022 signing of an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, including the extension of his March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. This meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted via in-person and remote participation and shall afford adequate alternative means of public access via Microsoft Teams by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410. And then you have to punch in the conference ID number, which is 674019094, and hit the pound. Or you can join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue/hearing or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. To authorize this hybrid form of meeting, we need to have a roll call of all members. So please state your name and whether you're in favor or not. Buck.
James Upson, I'm in favor of this format.
William Grau, in favor.
Megan Story, in favor.
Paul C. Semple, in favor.
David S. Nixon, in favor.
David R. Thompson, in favor.
Randy Potash, in favor.
And David H. Veach in favor.
I would ask that any citizens or non-board members participating in the call via the phone, please give us your name and the last four digits of your phone number for ID purposes. The way we conduct the meeting is that the hearing notice will be read by the lady to my right. This is Sarah B. Clark. She's the PPO for the town. That's the Principal Permitting Officer. After that, the representative or the individual who has filed the appeal or application will give a presentation. When they are done, I would ask for anybody here or on Microsoft Teams who wishes to speak in favor, only in favor, to do so. I would then read any correspondence that we had. I would then ask for anyone who wishes to speak against the appeal or has a specific question to do so. If that happens, the applicant may rebut the testimony, may not. Then we would have questions from the board members. When that is done, we would close the public hearing and go into deliberation. Deliberation is amongst the 8 of us, unless a board member wishes to introduce into the discussion someone who had given some sort of input previous to that. We would then have a vote in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. To be successful, you need to get a majority, supermajority, of the voters to vote in favor. So that means with 5 people voting, you need to get 4 yeses. Voting today would be Buck, Paul, myself, and the 2 Daves. Are there any questions? Sarah, let's see, do we have any minutes to approve?
We have the minutes of September 8th.
All right,
I was not at the September 8th meeting, so I will pass on making a motion.
all right,
I will move to approve the minutes of September 8th as presented.
okay, do we
And I
have?
will second.
Thank you, Buck. We'll take a vote on that. Buck?
Buck votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Those that were here included Megan
I vote yes.
and Randy.
And I vote yes.
Okay, very good, thank you. Sarah, 22-072, please.
Application number 22-072, the John C. Kissinger Qualified Personal Residence Trust 1, care of Thad Eldridge, 1038 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 58 Strong Island Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 12M, Block 18, Lot C8. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a non-conforming dwelling and a non-conforming lot via the construction of an addition. The existing dwelling is non-conforming in that it is located 33.8 feet from Strong Island Road, 30.9 feet from Bassing Harbor Road, and 22.9 feet from the southerly abutter. The proposed addition will be nonconforming in that it will be located 34.3 feet from Strong Island Road, where a 40-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 3,046 square feet, and the proposed building coverage is 3,100 square feet, where 2,850 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 21,314 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 9, and Sections 5B of the Chatham Protected Bylaw.
Mr. Eldridge.
Good afternoon. For the record, Thad Eldridge, east-southeast. Just to clarify the legal ad that was read, the proposed addition is going to be 50.4 feet from Strong Island Road. The existing generator is the 34.3 feet. Those dimensions are right on top of each other, and I should have clarified more. So with that, the proposal includes the construction of a very small addition, 54 square feet. I believe it's the smallest that we've seen in quite some time. I think that was 118 square feet that was back in May. The applicants improved their home several years ago, and at the time, they didn't think it was a problem to go downstairs for the laundry. And now they would like to go upstairs for the laundry or stay on the first floor. The existing building, or the proposed addition is going to conform to all the dimensional setbacks, just it will increase that building coverage, which is already over. It will increase that by a small amount. To briefly go through the criteria, I stated the building coverage will go from 3,046 to 3,100 square feet. That's 14.3 to 14.5, where 13.4% is the maximum allowed with this lot. The homes in the immediate vicinity range from 1,750 to 3,650 square feet. The 3,000 square feet puts it well below the maximum. The proposed addition is a minor increase in the building coverage. Otherwise, it's conforming to the setbacks. We're looking at no real impact on the neighboring properties as it is in the crux of a building. And I can wait a moment if you'd like.
I dropped something.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave, very much. Go ahead.
So we have a minor increase in the building coverage with no impact on the neighboring properties, as this is really in the corner of the building, right behind the two AC units and behind the generator. The proposed addition does have a deck on top, much like the deck that exists there. And so the view from Strong Island Road will be very similar. We have a residential use that's compatible. The utilities are fine. I think everything else is really not applicable. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience or on Microsoft Teams who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate now.
I see no one that wishes to speak in favor.
Then I'll read the correspondence. The first is a memo. This is from Judith Giorgio, the health agent for the town of Chatham. She writes on 8/30, yeah. I have reviewed the plan to add a small laundry room as an addition off the study at this property. There will be no increase in septic flow. The existing dwelling is deed restricted to 4 bedrooms. The addition on sonotubes is acceptable as proposed. Care should be taken at construction to not encroach on the existing septic system with any heavy equipment. Then we have an email. This is from Allison and Bill Douglas. Their address is 665 Fox Hill Road. They write on August 29, we're writing concerning this application. We live nearby, received notice of the application, and have reviewed the Kissinger's proposed plans for construction of a modest addition pursuant to a special permit. We write to express our support for the application and the Kissinger's plans, which we believe are reasonable and will improve the property and the homeowner's quality of life. We appreciate the opportunity to be heard. And we have an email. This is from Joan and Richard Drury. Their address is 27 Strong Island Road. They write on August 14th. We're writing on behalf of this application coming up. Mr. and Mrs. Kissinger have been exemplary neighbors since 2009, unfailingly polite and cheerful at all times. The application for an expansion of their dwelling by 54 square feet seems very small in comparison to the extraordinary construction that has taken place in our neighborhood over the past few years. We are very symptomatic to their desire to relocate a washer/dryer unit. We're in complete support of the application. And then we have a note. No, we don't. Yeah.
It's just that portion.
Okay, this is from Shauna Neely. But via her, this is from Thomas Fontaine. We are abutters to John and Lorna, and we are in full support of their proposed addition. Sincerely, Thomas Fontaine and Maureen Sullivan, and they're at 48 Strong Island Road. That's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here or on Microsoft Teams that would like to speak against this application or has a specific question? Now is your time to be recognized.
There's no one that wishes to speak in opposition or has a question.
Okay, questions from the board? Buck?
Buck has no questions.
Bill?
Bill has no questions.
Megan?
Megan has no questions.
Paul?
No questions.
Dave?
Dave Thompson, no questions.
Randy?
No questions?
Nor do I have questions.
Okay,
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds.
we need a vote on that, Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Paul?
All votes yes?
Dave?
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
I vote yes. Deliberations? Bill?
Very straightforward addition. I would have no issues with this if voting.
Megan?
I feel the same.
Paul?
Clearly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Dave?
I'm in favor, it's logical.
I'd support it if I were voting.
It meets all of our applicable criteria, and I will support it.
Okay, Paul, any reason for any conditions?
I don't see a need for conditions on this project. I would just say I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds.
All right, we need a vote.
Buck votes yes.
Paul?
All votes yes?
Dave?
Dave T., yes.
Dave Veach votes
And I
yes.
vote yes, that's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much, Mr. Eldridge. Sarah, 22-076, please.
Application number 22-076, Roland and Deborah Trailer, care of Eric Tolley, 299 White's Path, South Yarmouth, Mass. 02664. Owners of property located at 166 Landing Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13K, Block 30, Lot R11. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a nonconforming dwelling on a nonconforming lot via the construction of a porch addition. The existing dwelling is nonconforming, and it is located 24.9 feet from the northerly abutter. The proposed porch will be nonconforming, in that it will be located 21.7 feet from the northerly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 2,137 square feet, and the proposed building coverage is 2,393 square feet, where 2,850 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 21,007 square feet in an R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Chatham Protected Bylaw.
Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Tolley, representing Deb and Roland Trailer, and thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to present our project before you today. Just for a little background, this project began very early in 2017 as a two-phase project. The first phase was completed approximately 3 years ago, and we are here today before you requesting this special permit for phase 2. When we commenced the master planning for this project in early 2017, I sat with then Building Commissioner Justin Post to discuss these setback issues. It was the opinion of then Commissioner Post at the time that in order to comply with zoning, we needed to pull this porch back to be within the to be outside of this setback, but that he would allow the roof covering the porch to remain because he viewed that as a soffit or a eave, and he did not take issue with soffits and eaves extending into setbacks at that time. Several months ago, when we were planning to permit this phase of the project, I learned that Commissioner Briggs has a different interpretation of eaves and overhangs and the extent to which they can extend into setbacks. So I met with him in late June to discuss the proposed project. At that meeting, Commissioner Briggs suggested, since the house was pre-existing non-conforming at its northwest corner, that we file for a special permit to leave the roof extending into the setback, and it was also suggested that we should apply for a special permit for the portion of the porch that had been previously removed to comply with the setback. So the request here today is for a special permit to allow approximately 16.6 square feet of porch and associated roof to extend approximately 3.5 feet into the setback. Thank you for your time, and if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, you have our criteria?
Not in front of me, no.
Okay, we can provide that for you. And obviously, not all of it does pertain, but you should review those and give us your reasoning for those that do.
I'm sorry, sir? Can you repeat that?
I said you should review those and take the ones that pertain to this particular application and give us your reasoning to feel that we should approve this.
So adequacy of site, we will still be under the maximum allowed building coverage. Compatibility of the site and the proposed structure with neighboring properties. I don't think that this project is drastically different from other houses within the neighborhood. The extent of proposed increase in non-conforming nature of the structure or use, again, it's 16.6 square feet, extending 3.5 feet over the setback. Suitability of the site, including but not limited to impact on neighboring properties. We don't believe that there'll be any impact. If there were any, it would be to the neighbor to the north. And I believe you have in your correspondence several letters of support for the project. Impact of scale, siting, or mass. We don't believe that this is detrimental in either of or any of those categories. Compatibility of the proposed use with neighboring uses. It's still a residential use. Adequacy of method of sewage disposal, not applicable. Impact on traffic flow and safety, not applicable. Noise and litter, not applicable. There are adequate utilities and other public services at the site. Visual impact on the neighbor and neighboring uses, if any. Visual impact on the neighborhood and neighboring uses. We don't foresee that there's any impact as it's remaining a residential structure and is keeping with the context of the existing neighborhood. The house is not located in a floodplain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone here on Microsoft Teams that would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you would like to join the meeting now.
I see no one that wishes to speak in favor.
So I'll read the correspondence. First is a note from Judith Giorgio, our health agent. She writes on August 30th, "Hi, Sarah. I have no concerns regarding the addition of a front porch at this property." And we have an email. This is from Bruce and Kathleen Everett. They write, on September 11th, we live at 82 High Point Drive in the Riders Cove Landing, the same neighborhood as the property at 166 Landing Lane. As neighbors, we are fully supportive of the plans to add a porch and believe it will be an enhancement to the neighborhood and fully consistent with the character of the association. We therefore support the granting by the town of a special permit. Then we have a note. This is from Charles and Eileen Boehm, or Boehm, B-O-E-H-M. They're at 141 Landing Lane. As a butters, we're writing in support. P.S. Paul was right about the size of the house on Shell Drive. You must be the Paul they're referring to. Are these personal friends of yours? I didn't quite hear that. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Then we have an email from Steve Burlingame and Sue, Steve and Sue. They're at 148 Landing Lane. We abut the property, and they are our next-door neighbors. We are enthusiastically support the above application regarding the addition of a front porch. It'll be a very nice addition to our neighborhood. And then we have a note from, let's see, Sharon Gordon. And this was written on August 20th. As a board member of the Cannon Hill Association Related Road District, we respectfully request that the following restrictions be made part of the approval of this application. These conditions are designed to ensure the public safety and residential nature of Cannon Hill. 1, all construction must take place only Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Construction shall not be permitted on weekends or holidays. 2, contractor and their sub should refrain from loud, vulgar language and music to preserve the neighborhood atmosphere where there are many children present. 3, communication between the general contractor and surrounding neighbors of the subject property is critical, and contact numbers will be provided to report any concerns such as violations of the aforementioned conditions. Thank you for your consideration. And that's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to either speak against this or has a specific question? If so, please indicate now you'd like to be heard.
There is no one that wishes to speak in opposition or has a specific question.
Mr. Tully, did you want to have anything to say about that letter?
About the conditions? The contractor is here. He may want to speak to the conditions. I'm not going to be the one that enforces them should you implement them.
Okay. Did you wish to have any word? No? Okay, okay, thank you. All right, questions from the board? Megan?
I do not have any questions about the project. I disagree with adding all of those conditions specifically because one person wrote a letter. So if we get to that point, I will then have questions.
Paul?
I have no questions.
Dave?
I have no questions, but I would like to side with Megan on that. I think that's going overboard.
Randy?
No questions.
Dave?
I have no questions, but I share the sympathies of previously expressed.
No questions.
Bill?
No questions.
All right.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave
All right.
Veach seconds.
Need a vote? Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Paul?
All votes yes.
Dave?
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave?
Dave Veach votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. Paul?
Well, we obviously have input from an intelligent and astute observer of zoning matters in town in support of this application. And I think clearly it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, so I have no problem with that.
I agree with Paul.
Randy?
I'd support it if I were voting.
I agree with Paul.
I agree with everything Paul said.
As do I.
I agree.
Okay, so what do you think about conditions, Paul?
I guess I would say that I think these conditions proposed by the association go beyond what would normally be something that we would undertake. There's certainly enough room on the property, I think, to handle construction vehicles and so forth.
Especially for this.
And I really don't see that there's a need for restrictions with respect to weekend activity and so forth. So I guess I will simply move to approve the application as submitted.
Well, I'm pretty much in agreement with that. The restrictions on time of work and everything are similar to what we may usually impose during the summer months, but this is sort of proposed for all year round. And I just don't think, and the others I don't think belong recorded in a document at the registry of deeds or anything, so I can't support those. I think I can support our normal condition of vehicles to be contained on site or with the approval of neighbors too on their property, so, thanks.
Dave and Randy, you expressed your opinion on conditions earlier. Any change?
I did not express any opinion on it, so I have not changed my non-existent.
I don't think we should have any conditions at all. It's an area of town which is not heavily populated. It's on a circle.
Buck?
I have no comment.
Bill?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to put any conditions on this at all.
Megan?
I don't think any conditions are necessary.
And I agree with that. Okay? All right. So Paul, motion, please.
I'd made a motion to approve the application as submitted.
And Steve, each seconds.
We need a vote?
Buck votes yes.
All votes yes. All votes yes.
Dave Thompson votes yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you very much. That's a unanimous decision.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, Sarah, how about 22-077?
Application number 22-077, Stephen and Haley Nadas, care of Thad Eldridge, 1038 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owners of property located at 98 Oyster Pond, Furlong, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13E, Block 29, Lot 11A. The applicant seeks a dimensional variance from the required abutter setback for the installation of an exterior mechanical system appliance generator. The generator is proposed to be installed 5.1 feet from the northerly abutter and 0.8 feet from the westerly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. A dimensional variance is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10, and Section 8D2C of the Chatham Protected Bylaw.
Mr. Eldridge?
Good afternoon. Thad Eldridge, East Southeast, here representing the Nadases, which I have trouble pronouncing correctly. I'm just going to call it up. I've handed out a copy of the lower left portion of the plan that was submitted to you, which really has the dimensions that we are proposing for these generators. And with the plan in hand. So, as mentioned, the property is undersized. It was divided on what looks like an 81L exemption plan back in the 60s. The Nadases are going through the exercise of connecting to the sewer. When we first looked at this property, we looked at gravity. It's actually possible. If we put the sewer pipe right on top of the culvert that goes underneath the driveway, with about this much tolerance to spare, and then reconstructed the driveway at the parcel end, we could get gravity to work out here, barely. It's very tight tolerances. Also, the culvert itself is undersized for what should be out there. And if we put gravity sewer in here, that would eliminate the ability for the town, DEP, mosquito control, or neighbors to ever expand that culvert. So we've decided to go with the underground directional drilled force mains that requires a pump. When the power goes out, the pumps no longer work. So the Nadases would like to have a generator in order to keep their sewer working throughout. So the generator on 98, there is no part on this property where anything can meet the setback, or a lot that's less than 50 feet wide with 25-foot side yard setbacks, and so a variance is necessary. We have cited the generator as far from the abutters as possible, with the exception of the applicant's father, who owns 100. So the property shape is at issue, being our first criteria from Section 10. Literal enforcement of the bylaw would result in a hardship every time the power goes out. And we're not substantially derogating from the intent of the bylaw. We're keeping the generator as far from the other abutters as possible, with the exception of the town parcel that is a heavily grown mess of invasive plant species. And on the other side of a river, we never expect the town to put walking trails through there. And if they do, they would likely meet a buffer that would certainly be adequate. I included the special permit criteria because I frankly like the special permit criteria to respond to many of your matters. And if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. Is there anyone in Microsoft Teams that would like to speak in favor of this application?
There is no one in Microsoft Teams.
Period. Yeah. Okay, I'll read the correspondence. First is from Giorgio, our health agent, on 8/30. She writes, "The plan to site the proposed mechanical appliances, that is generators, and relocate the AC unit at these dwellings is consistent with the Board of Health order to connect said properties to the town of Chatham municipal sewer system. I have no concerns at this time." Then we get a note from Crystal Keon. She is the Town of Chatham's Conservation Secretary. She writes on August 23rd, "The project was approved by Conservation on 8/10. The plan attached is not the most current plan we have on file." And that's the extent of that. Is there anyone in Microsoft Teams who wishes to speak either against this plan or has a specific question? If so, please indicate now you'd like to join the meeting.
There is no one that has a question or is in opposition.
All right, questions? Dave?
I have no questions.
Randy? Whoop,
I have no questions.
Randy?
So I just want to reiterate, you said there's nowhere on the property you could put these devices at all without requiring a variance, correct?
Correct.
No spot exists?
No spot on the property at all.
Okay, thanks.
We're going to be within 25 feet of a side yard setback anywhere.
Thank you.
Dave?
This may be a little far-fetched, but I noticed in your argument for the next one coming to us that had the property not been divided by the 81L, that this would qualify for a special permit. Was there any consideration given to combining the properties, recombining the properties and applying for a special permit?
Undoing some things is often more difficult than doing them. Having two residences on one lot is another violation of the zoning bylaws. So now putting three residences on one property, I believe that would require additional relief from this board.
Yeah, I hadn't thought it through, I just realized that, I just realized that there is, were that an option, you could condo the property, divide it up that way, and have it be a single lot.
Ever since the Pallets case came out, we have been looking at potential remedies. I have dozens of lots that I've created under 81L exemption. My father has hundreds of lots. And when Pallets came out, it was a slight splash in the face of what do we do to help these people get through the situation that we helped create. We obviously stopped doing 81L exemption plans.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Buck?
Buck has no questions.
Bill?
Are all three houses going to be tied into the generator?
The next application is for 100 where there's a separate generator proposed.
Okay, what about 100A?
That's part of 100 in the next
Oh,
application.
it is.
Yes, so we're looking at
Okay, I wasn't
98
clear
right
on
now,
that.
which is specifically the house in the middle, I'll say.
Yeah, yeah.
One
Okay,
generator for 98, and then one separate generator for 100
That's-
and 100A.
okay, all right. That's all I had.
Megan?
I have no questions.
Paul?
Where the water lines come out and the sewer line comes out, as you're looking at towards the rear of the property, on the right-hand side, there's a box that has a whole series of little dots around it. What is that? Do you- Do you, it's right below where it says 10-foot min?
That would be the hole to dig for the directional drilling.
Just a hole, and then that's filled in?
Correct.
Well,
So when
okay.
they directional drill, they dig a hole at each end. They put the drill at one end, drill through the first hole to the second, then they pull the piping back through to the first hole. And then they'll trench from that hole to where the generator and pump are located.
Okay. And in terms of not being able to locate it at any location and meet setback, is that true if you were to put the generator, let's say on lot 98, somewhere along the, where the line that runs for the underground utilities are? That whole section there that is in front of the house?
So from this side of the property to this side of the property is less than 50 feet wide. So meeting a 25-foot setback is not possible anywhere.
Okay. And with respect to 100, is that also true that there's no spot on 100 that you could locate?
No, there is a location on 100.
Okay. All right. I have no other questions.
Yeah, and I have none, so. Well,
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds.
Buck approves.
Paul?
Paul approves?
Dave Thompson approves.
Dave Veach approves.
Okay. Randy?
I think you met the requirements of the variance. I'm not going to go through them legally, but I reviewed them before I came today, and I would support it if I were voting. Even if you didn't have the toilet issue, I would probably still support it. But that really nails it.
Dave?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did think, what I had asked Thad about, but I think that's, I think under the circumstances, especially on this lot, that I can find that it meets the criteria, as Randy has said, and that I can support this variance request.
Buck?
And I agree with Randy's convictions on her decision on this, so I'll support that.
Bill?
Yeah, I would also agree. I think this is a unique, unique parcel lines on a very small property, and I don't see what the options are. I think where they're putting it is exactly where it needs to go.
Megan?
I support it. That's a whole nother issue, but in theory, if you didn't support it, you could conceivably say they could get a temporary generator, right? I mean, there is an alternative to, I support it, so it's fine, but I'm just saying, I don't think we should leave out the fact that you could have to drive here and have a gasoline generator or whatever people do when they lose power. Like I'll have to do, because apparently I'm gonna lose my system too, because I'm gonna need a pump. But either way, I support it.
Paul?
Well, you're certainly creative in looking at special permit conditions and so forth and saying how well it meets those conditions. The issue really is the question of the land and is it unique and so forth. I'm not sure what your arguments are with respect to that issue.
It's the shape argument. The shape of the property is such that we cannot fit anything that complies with the setback.
And that was created by subdivision some time ago, right?
In the 60s, yes.
But the shape is narrow and long, and as I look at these other lots on the assessing map, an awful lot of them are like that. So I'm not sure how it's unique to this zoning district.
So while we have narrow and long lots, nearby, they're all significantly wider than the subject property. This is noticeably much more narrow. It's half as narrow as the others.
Well, looking ahead just a little bit, how does that impact 100 and the request there and the combination of the two? Because
The
that
proposal
certainly
is-
isn't narrow.
The proposal is to put the pumps here for 98 and 100 in this same corner. We knew that we needed a variance no matter what we did for 98. We were hoping that the board would be a little lenient with 100 because of the unique situation that we're in, where we can put everything into one corner. Candidly, 100 does not meet the criteria for a variance.
Okay, I just wanted to get a feel for the overall. I don't think I have any other questions.
I'm going to support this.
Well, I'm not a big fan of variances, as you know, Thad, but I think in this situation, if we said no, it's just making a bad situation worse. So I will vote yes. Paul?
I will move to approve the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds.
Buck vote?
Buck approves.
Paul?
Paul votes yes.
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
And I vote yes, that's a unanimous decision. Okay, Sarah, 22-078, please.
Application number 22-078, John Doss and Stephanie Orno, care of Thad Eldridge, 1038 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633, owners of property located at 100 Oyster Pond Furlong, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13E, Block 30, Lot 11. The applicant seeks a dimensional variance from the required abutter setback for the installation of an exterior mechanical system appliances, generator, and AC condenser. The generator is proposed to be installed 5.1 feet from the northerly abutter and 1.6 feet from the easterly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The AC condenser, which was installed 1.3 feet over the northerly abutter lot line, is proposed to be relocated 0.08 feet from the northerly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. A dimensional variance is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10, and Section 8D2C of the Chatham Protective Bylaw.
Good afternoon. For the record, Thad Eldridge, East Southeast. This one is the more difficult one. And again, we knew that 98, there was no option. We had to go for a variance on that one. We've proposed all of the mechanicals in one location on the two properties. And we're punting. We're going for that variance on this one to put the generator up next to the other generator. There are locations on this property where a generator could be sited that meet the setback requirements and the other requirements. Those are within the lawn area or within the middle of the driveway. The air conditioning unit, those utilities have been installed inside of 100A. The air conditioning unit was installed over the lot line, and we're now looking to put that on the building, right up against the lot line, actually on the right side of the line. One other comment that I didn't make, we have enclosures that are going around these generators, so visibility is not going to be a concern. Additionally, the trash cans that I noticed out there today, they will have a location where they can be hidden behind and not put up against the fence on a town property. I did my best with an argument on this one, and I kept going around in circles with, I really came to the conclusion that it's unfortunate that law does not always follow logic. This is the logical location for the generator to be placed, and I just hope that the zoning board can see it that way.
Okay. Is there anyone here on Microsoft Teams who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate now you'd like to speak.
There's no one that wishes to speak in favor.
Well, that was quick. Okay, we have a memo from, I'll read the correspondence now. A memo from Judith Giorgio, Health Agent. She writes on 8/30, the plan to site the proposed mechanical appliances, generators, and relocate the AC unit at these dwellings is consistent with the Board of Health order to connect said properties to the town of Chatham municipal sewer system. I have no concerns. And then Crystal Keon writes, says the Conservation Secretary, on August 23rd, the project was approved by Conservation on 8/10. The plan attached is not the most current plan that we have on file. And that's the extent of the correspondence. Questions? Dave?
No,
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
I can let him speak for me.
No.
No, I have no questions that I can think of right now, Dave.
Okay, Buck?
This is horrible, but we'll ask it anyways. So I have a generator that runs 2 refrigerators. Is it possible the one we just approved be able to run both sump pumps? That's
Well,
logical, I thought.
it is, while these properties are in almost common ownership, they do want the ability to convey them independently someday without having a shared generator.
But technically, the generator probably could run both sump pumps.
It certainly could.
Thank you.
Bill?
So this generator application is actually going to be tied into 2 houses.
Correct.
And it's of a size to power up both of those homes?
Minimally. We're not looking for full power source here. We're looking for just enough to keep the refrigerator running, maybe 2 refrigerators, and keep the
And
pump
the sewer
going.
pump? Okay. I'm more wondering about the, how did the heating and AC condenser get placed off of the property line? I mean, onto the next property. Give me some history on that, because you're lumping that into this application, right?
Yes, that was added this summer when they needed an air conditioner. They didn't want a window unit.
Yeah.
The contractor who installed those did not call for site plan or staking or permission. He just put it in.
So he put it in and it's all piped in right there? It
Right
can't
there.
go anywhere else?
Not without taking away all the work that he's done already.
Okay. That's all I have.
Megan?
I have no questions.
Paul?
If we do not approve a variance for this generator, what's the backup plan? Is that, I mean, to a certain extent, I like Buck's idea of using one generator, because you could certainly come to an agreement, especially now, because you've got relatives that are talking back and forth, but an agreement that would last and constitute in effect an easement or some kind of right to use the generator on 98. So if we did not approve this, what's your backup concept?
I'm not sure. There are discussions about 100A. It's very low to the ground. It's very, very wet back there. It's only a few feet off of that wetland. And we've been talking about picking it up and relocating it somewhere on the property. So if we were to, if the board was not inclined to approve this variance, we would probably double up the pumps for now and then come back with a more cohesive plan with 100A. Or they'd put a generator in the middle of the lawn.
And with respect to the AC condenser, I realize that the most economical way to deal with that is obviously to just move it slightly. If you don't do that, what's your alternative there?
So with this, from the Conservation Commission, we've proposed and been approved for a fence right along the lot line to make sure that there's no more intrusion on the town property. That area will be seeded over, and so it's basically releasing from use that section of property. If this is not approved, we will be back for another variance to put it on a different part of the building, as the front of that building is within 25 feet of the sideline. You can see in here, this red line is the setback line. So unless they were to come out with a unit somewhere out in front in the middle of the lawn, we're going to need a variance for that as well.
Okay, I don't think I have any other questions.
Dave,
Oh, I have no questions.
Randy,
No questions.
Dave.
So I just want to piggyback on where we were, Paul, on that. And it seems to me that there's also been discussions about possibly relocating 100A, in which case there might not need to be a request for variance just for that AC unit, were that to be part of a relocation. Is that true? Is it a possibility? Is that a possibility? Let me put it that way.
The discussions have been very slow. So we don't have any formal plans. This building's going to be in place next summer. So they're either going to have an air conditioner next summer or a number of window units. I don't even know if the building will be moved, but we've been talking about it.
Okay, thanks.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Beach seconds.
Buck says yes.
Paul votes yes.
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave Beach votes yes.
And I vote yes. Deliberations. Randy,
So, I know logically what you see, but legally, it doesn't meet the criteria. So I think we might be doing you a favor by saying, sort of get your plans together, get it all solidified, and especially where you might want to convey this separately. I always think about the fact that neighbors now maybe don't care, and, everybody's happy now, but, these properties are gonna be here long after we are. So I think you should just square it all away and come back and ask for the appropriate legal remedies for whatever you decide. So I wouldn't vote yes, but I'm not voting.
Dave,
Very good.
This is a tough one. The practical side of me would speak to finding that this meets the criteria and that I'd be in favor of granting a variance. But it doesn't really meet the criteria. So I think I'm in alignment with what Randy has said on this. I think that there are alternatives that questions have raised about that may be alternatives if it's comprehensively approached. And a generator could be sized, the generator that we just gave a variance to and agreements drawn up could be sized to power the pumps. So all that consideration is, I don't think I can support the variance request at this time.
Buck?
I guess I got the cart before the horse. I just assumed if it didn't pass, that they would figure out that one generator can run 2 sump pumps. And then those two parties, to address what Randy was raising, would get hold of an attorney and try to figure out how to form a legal agreement on that. I don't know the details of that. That's not I just thought it was real simple. If it didn't pass, they still had a solution and they wouldn't lose sleep over what are we going to do. So since we're in deliberation and still have 4 more people to talk, I'm going to withhold my decision until I hear, and you can call me up after we're ready to close the deliberations.
Bill?
This one is different than the first one to me because, as minor as it may seem compared to the generator, I do think the location of the generator makes sense. The AC condenser is a problem because by lumping that in here and reading the criteria to approve a variance, I mean, I don't know if it was ignorance or stupidity or why they put that on the wrong property, but, that just complicates it to me. And, moving, the whole issue of moving the house, I just don't see where you could move it where you're going to eliminate some of these issues here. And, given all that, I would have a difficult time approving this variance if I were voting.
Megan?
The AC condenser, just so I am not, sorry, it's my kid, otherwise I wouldn't look. The AC condenser is over the line now, but if this were to be approved, it's moving, right? Back into the property.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out because I think that might be a little confusing. I don't know, I'm torn because it's a weird little neighborhood of stuff going on there. And so part of me feels like if they were allowed to subdivide it and have these 2 houses on the same lot, and if I'm reading where you could conceivably move 100A2, you'd still be in the same position from what I can tell. And I don't think we have we know that they're owned by the same people or there's a family relation or whatever, but I don't think we have the authority to say, go share a generator. Like, I'm not comfortable with that. So unfortunately for you, I'm not voting, but I might be inclined to approve it.
Paul?
Well, I think your honesty in approaching it is correct. I don't think it does satisfy the conditions for a variance. And there is an alternative which could be worked out that would allow for 1 generator with respect to that issue. And in terms of the AC condenser, I guess I'm more inclined to say I would go along with that, given that it's already there and that it backs up to conservation land, which is not going to be impacted. But again, I'm not sure it satisfies a variance requirement. So, we face, as you know, variance requests all the time. And it's always a difficult situation because we have to turn down people who don't meet the criteria. This doesn't meet the criteria. It's hard to then go on to other people and say, well, you don't meet the criteria. Turn them down and grant it in other situations. So I would not be inclined to grant the variance in this situation.
I think that probably Thaddeus would be smart to pull this and come back and see us later. I don't see how I can vote in favor of it. I apologize.
Yeah, this doesn't qualify. And also, you know, the fact that we have another contractor flaunting the process. And that is not good. That really isn't good. And I know it's gonna cost a moolah to move it, but these things, and I'm not talking to you specifically, Thad, I'm just talking in general. This has gotta stop. It really does. Anyway, I'll be voting no also.
Okay.
So,
If I could
would you like to
respond.
withdraw?
Could I respond first?
Sure.
So this was not approved under a subdivision plan. It was an approval not required plan. Two or more structures that predate the adoption of the subdivision control law. So there was no approval for this when it went through. I agree. I've seen too many contractors just go rogue, and it's more of a headache for me than it is for you, because I
Sure
have
it
to
is.
try and figure out a way to get them back here without too much difficulty. I would like to request a withdrawal without prejudice.
Okay, Paul, would you make a motion, please?
Yes, I'll move to grant a request for withdrawal without prejudice.
And Dave Veach seconds.
You need a vote, Bob?
Buck votes yes.
Paul?
All votes yes?
Dave?
Dave Thompson, yes.
Dave Veach votes
And I
yes.
vote yes, that's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thad.
We had to
Okay, I do not believe we had anything else to come before us today. Sarah, you got something up your sleeve?
I do not. Our next meeting, though, and Paul did announce this, is October 13th, beginning at 2 PM.
It's two on the 13th. Okay, we need a roll call, and a motion, please, Paul, for withdrawal.
I'll move to,
I'm sorry.
I'll move to adjourn.
Thanks.
Dave Veach seconds.
Okay, Buck,
Buck votes yes.
Bill,
Bill votes yes.
Megan,
Megan votes yes.
Paul,
All votes yes?
Dave Thompson, yes.
Randy votes yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
and I vote yes. What's the official time?
4:04 PM.
4:04.